what are you seeing happening with the concepts of femininity and sexuality right now?
It's interesting because on social media, I watch YouTube a lot. I'm a YouTuber. Like, I don't have a YouTube channel, but I would rather watch YouTube than regular television or
Yeah.
cable because it sort of keeps you abreast of what's happening. And I've noticed over the last sort of 18 months, femininity coaches, femininity mindset healers, and they all sort of look alike and
Mm-hmm.
they all have the same conversation. It's appealing to an ideal of beauty and femininity that definitely is derived from a white European
Mm-hmm.
image. And
Mm-hmm.
if you're a white European, that's great. But what about the rest of us?
Yeah.
And most of the women that I've come across that have been teaching femininity from this standpoint are women of color. They're Black women. They're
Very
young women.
interesting, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes. They're promoting a form of performative femininity that says you have to speak softly, you have to sit on the edge of your chair, you have to wear high heels, you have to wear lipstick, your nails have to be a certain way. And that's great, but it's very surface level. And it also does not account for the nuanced ways in which femininity shows up in global cultures, right?
Mm.
So
Mm-hmm.
femininity is okay. It is a pair of 5 inch Socate's Louboutin shoes, right? It is like eyelashes
Ooh.
out to here, but it's also,
No.
you know, for some women, and that's for you. Okay, fine. But femininity is also a black bisht abaya and a niqab, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's also hennaed hands and feet. It
Mm-hmm.
is the swish of a Bazin Grand Boubou as you're walking through the
Mm-hmm.
marketplace. Where does it account for all of the expressions of femininity that our grandmothers, that our foremothers had?
Mm.
So I think, when you couple that with the conversation around sexuality, it means that women are always performing to fulfill a role.
100%. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
what can I
I
do
hear
to
that.
show you
Mm-hmm.
how well I can cook, how beautiful I am, how soft I can be, how supportive I can be, so that you can choose me, so that then you can make me your wife, so that then I can please you. Everything is outward, it's output.
Mm. Mm.
Very little of it, from what I've seen, has been focused on internal development and self reflection. So then, when you have this idea of femininity as being something that you are rewarding someone else with your presence, when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to sexuality, then you just become a receptacle for someone else's pleasure.
Right.
You're not an active participant in it.
Mm-hmm.
So it limits us in terms of the way that we look at sexuality, because then, we shift into these extremes of your body has to look a certain way in order to be sexy.
Mm.
Your hip to waist ratio has to be, so you have people who literally have comical figures. Like, they literally look like they come out of like a
Yeah.
comic book with
Yeah.
Photoshop and filters, and they're manipulating their bodies to look a certain way. Body dysmorphia has never been,
Yeah.
so rampant. And all of that is linked into our limitations when we talk about femininity and sexuality. So I think for women, the conversation has to start in the home and even in the masjid, right? The masjid by
Mm-hmm.
my house, we have Bengali sisters, we have Sudanese sisters, we have Somali sisters. I think I'm one of the only African Americans, and each group has different models of what femininity looks like.
Mm, mm, mm,
Each
mm.
group, they are sexy in their own ways, right? Because you go to sisters parties and you see sisters.
We
we
know.
we need,
We know what
yeah,
goes
we
down.
know, right? We know what lies beneath,
Mashallah.
right?
Okay.
So
Exactly.
I think we owe ourselves as women, and also to our daughters and our granddaughters and our nieces and our cousins and our little sisters, we owe them a more multifaceted approach to femininity. And then inshallah, that will seep into our conversations about sexuality, because we are limiting ourselves as Muslims, and we come from a very expansive tradition in both regards.
Right. Subhanallah. As you're saying this, I'm thinking of so many of the other conversations that we've had already in this kind of intimacy area, and one of the things that keeps coming up in every conversation is porn. And I can't help wondering how much of our own idea of what is sexy, as you said, is from the movies, is from music videos, is from is from porn. And even when you said performative femininity, I'm thinking of the performative sexiness that we feel in order to be sexy, I must dress a particular way, I must talk a particular way, I must act in a particular way. And this is like no shade to those of you who, if that's your thing, that's your thing. This is a no judgment zone. But what about those sisters who feel that doesn't, it's not who they are, but they feel they need to perform that in order to be sexy? I mean, can you be sexy without garters and a corset?
Absolutely. Yeah, you absolutely can be sexy. In fact, my work is expanding now where I'm opening up myself and my expertise to talking to men more. When I first started on social media, and I started in this work in 1998, and
Wow.
I've always worked with men in community, but on social media, it can be a mixed bag, right? So I had to
Mm,
really establish a firm boundary when talking about sex and sexuality because I didn't want to sexualize myself. I did not want to become the object of someone's misplaced attraction.
well, yeah. Mm.
But now that I've opened myself up in talking with men, you will really be surprised at what men find sexy versus what society tells us that men find sexy.
Look at that. Talk to it, girl. What they saying?
So,
What they telling you?
um,
We
so
want all the tea. We want all the
I have a
juice.
nephew. I have a nephew. He's married. He is of West African origin, and I, in the summertime, I usually wear mulfas, a tobe. It's a very
Yeah.
loose flowing, all covering, like everything's covered.
Mm.
And he was talking about how the men from his culture find that such a sexy garment. And I was like,
Yes.
talk to me about this. Like,
Yeah.
talk to me
Yeah.
about this.
Yeah.
He said and another of my nieces, these are my village nieces and nephews.
Mm.
She said that an artist came to do a workshop one day and he said, when you shroud a thing, you reveal
Mm.
its beauty.
Mm. 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 Mm.
So when you cover something, you reveal the essence of its beauty. And this is what my nephew was saying. He said there's something beautiful about a woman who can wear a garment like that and it exudes the confidence and the sexiness that comes from inside. Because
Mm.
to be a sexy person is not the garter belts and the high heel shoes and the lingerie and the push-up bras. It is exuding a seductive confidence. It's a level of comportment. And that comes across when you're wearing, you can be wearing anything. You can be fully covered and that will come out. I think as Muslims, we're afraid of that though, because we have this idea of modesty, and modesty is like, no, I can't arouse attraction. We're not talking about intentionally trying to attract someone. We're talking about, are you confident and comfortable in who you are? And does that radiate outward,
Mm.
right? Does
Mm.
that radiate outwardly, even to your partner? Right? You have women who feel as if, well, I dress, fully covered outside. So when I come home, I have to wear the most risque thing possible. And they're uncomfortable with their bodies. And that shows with their spouse. So they don't really come across as sexy as they think they are.
Oh
Rather,
no.
we should, it's like
Oh
you're
yeah.
walking
Yeah.
around in this
Mm.
gear, you dress like Cardi B, sis, and it's not working for you, right? The math is not mathing on that, right? It's true. I have friends who are like, I just don't feel sexy. And I said, well, wear something that feels good on your body.
That feels good. Mm.
Look,
Mm.
look at cultures around the world. Look at women that you find strikingly beautiful. What are they wearing? What is
Mm.
it about their comportment, their level of grace, their presence that is drawing you in? That is true sexiness. What we have now is we have this theatrical version of sexy. Because porn is
Mm.
theater. Let's just be totally honest. It's scripted.
Yep.
It's completely false. It's not true. No one has sex like they have sex in porn. No one behaves like they do in porn
Mm.
films. It's a
Mm.
form of entertainment. Our lives, however, are a true lived experience. So we really need to learn how to embody sexiness from a Muslim perspective, but also from a holistic perspective.